I was unfaithful with my brother-in-law, my boyfriend's brother. Just saying it makes me a little embarrassed because I know exactly what it means. What I did has no excuse. And the worst part wasn't the infidelity, it was everything that came after. I had been dating my boyfriend for 6 months. 6 months with a good man, hardworking, caring, attentive. One of those who listens, includes you in his life, and doesn't disappear. We didn't have big fights or intense drama. Precisely because of that, everything becomes harder to justify. There was no neglect, no mistreatment, no abuse. There was something much more dangerous, an attraction to my brother-in-law that I should never have allowed. I met his brother at the beginning of our relationship. A simple family dinner, nothing special. Normal introductions, polite laughter, meaningless small talk. And there he was, my brother-in-law, my boyfriend's older brother. From the first moment, I found him very handsome. It wasn't an innocent observation. It was an uncomfortable, intense feeling. One of those that makes you glance away a second too late. I told myself it was normal, that anyone could find someone else attractive, that it didn't mean anything. But every time I saw him, something repeated itself, a silent tension between us, a tension that went beyond casual. We didn't talk much, but when we exchanged words, I felt he understood me. And even though no one else seemed to notice it, I knew I wasn't imagining it. My boyfriend never suspected anything. I was the perfect girlfriend, present, sweet, committed. We planned trips, talked about the future, living together, shared projects. I told him I was happy, and I wasn't entirely lying. I was just leaving out a part. Because every family gathering became an event I anticipated for a reason I couldn't admit. I thought about whether his brother would be there, how he would look at me, if he would ignore me or talk to me. I surprised myself thinking about these things. Everything started intensifying subtly, seemingly innocent comments, double-meaning jokes that only we understood, smiles that lingered longer than normal when no one was watching. Nothing overt, nothing that could be directly accused, but enough for me to go to bed thinking about it and feeling guilty for doing so. I promised myself that nothing would ever happen, that I would never betray my boyfriend like that it was just a silly game between us, that it would pass on its own. But infidelity doesn't disappear when you hide it. It grows stronger. One day, my boyfriend had to leave early for work and asked me to accompany him to drop some things at his parents' house. His brother was there. I could stay a little longer. Nothing unusual. And without realizing it, I agreed. At first, everything was normal. Simple conversation, coffee, laughter. Until we were alone. It wasn't planned. It just happened. An awkward silence. A tiny excuse to keep talking. And suddenly, I was too close to being unfaithful. I felt that exact moment when you could still leave. That second when you know that if you don't, there's no turning back. And I didn't leave. I'm not going to dress it up as romance. It wasn't love. It was a mistake. It was feeling vulnerable. It was knowing it was wrong and still choosing to be unfaithful. Then came the guilt. Of course it did. But it lasted only little. A few hours, maybe a day, until my boyfriend texted me asking how I was, with that tenderness he always had. I replied normally, as if nothing had happened. I convinced myself it would happen only once, a single mistake, a secret between my brother-in-law and me, but I didn't even believe it. I knew it could happen again, and worse, a part of me wanted it. I never looked at my brother-in-law the same way again, nor at myself. Every family gathering was a test. Meanwhile, my boyfriend continued trusting me, holding my hand, talking about us, the future. And I, Well, I was already living two realities at the same time. That's when it all really started, not with the first act of infidelity, but with the conscious decision to continue as if nothing had happened, fully aware of what I had done and what I could still do. And the worst part? This was only the beginning. After that first time, nothing was ever the same. I tried to convince myself that I could go on as if nothing had happened, that I could pretend everything was normal, tuck that moment into a corner of my mind, and continue being the perfect girlfriend. But the truth was that something had already broken, and it wasn't the relationship, it was control. My brother-in-law began seeking me out, not obviously, not with bold messages. Everything was subtle, calculated. A short text asking if I was okay, a tiny excuse to meet alone, a knowing smile that said more than any words could, and instead of putting a real stop to it, I started responding. That's how my double life began, with small, seemingly harmless steps that always led me to the same place, being unfaithful, secret chats, and lies. There were no promises, no plans with my brother-in-law. We didn't talk about the future. We just lived in the present, as if nothing else mattered. With my boyfriend, everything seemed the same, or at least it appeared that way. I still slept next to him, laughed at his jokes, went to gatherings with him, listened to his problems. And every time he looked at me with love, I felt an uncomfortable pang, not because I didn't care, but because I was no longer being honest. Lying became surprisingly easy, too easy. Adjusting schedules, deleting messages, inventing excuses. I was even scared at how quickly I changed. I told myself I was doing it to avoid hurting him, that it was better this way, that no one would benefit from the truth. But deep down, I knew it was just another lie. What I had with my brother-in-law started to intensify. It was no longer just an affair. It was something more. It was feeling understood in a different way. Not better, just different. He knew exactly what was at stake and continued anyway. So did I. Neither of us pretended this was okay. We just accepted it. But you can't live in two worlds without one of them demanding something, and mine started demanding the truth. I began comparing them, asking myself why I felt better with one and calmer with the other. And then I realized something uncomfortable. I was no longer confused, I was in love. It hit me hard. Realizing what I felt for my brother-in-law forced me to confront something I had been avoiding for weeks. I couldn't go on like this. I didn't want to. I didn't want to become someone who lived permanently in hiding. I decided to tell the truth, not out of bravery, not out of honesty, out of exhaustion, out of necessity, because living a lie was driving me crazy. I chose a moment, no prepared drama, no witnesses. We were alone. I asked him to sit. From the first second, he knew something was wrong. I was trembling, but I did it anyway. I told him I needed to say something important, that I didn't know how he would react, that I didn't expect him to understand. And then I let it out, straightforward, without softening it. I told him I had cheated, that it wasn't just once, that it was with his brother, that I was in love with him. The silence was brutal. He didn't yell, he didn't react. He looked at me as if he didn't understand the language, as if he was waiting for me to laugh and say it was a joke, but I didn't. Then came the explosion. Questions, yelling, disbelief. He called me every name imaginable. He demanded explanations I couldn't give. He asked how I could do that to him, how I could look him in the face all those days. And all I could do was tell the truth, even though it was cruel. I didn't know how to stop. He cried, he yelled, he slammed the table. He said I had humiliated him, betrayed him in the worst way possible. And he was right. I didn't try to defend myself. I didn't try to justify it. I told him I understood his anger, that I knew I had hurt him, but I wasn't going to keep lying. When the family found out, everything turned chaotic. Calls, messages, reproaches. Nobody wanted to listen. Nobody wanted to understand. I was the absolute culprit, the one who broke everything, the one who betrayed everyone. There were arguments among them, disputes I didn't witness, but I felt just the same. The pain wasn't just romantic. It was worse. It was familial. And yet, for the first time since this all began, I was not hiding.